And President Zelensky, you have made it clear that he is open to pursuing, well, let me put it this way. He's not open, but you're open to pursuing peace. You're open to pursuing a just peace. We also know that Putin has no intention of stopping this cruel war. And the United States is committed to ensuring that the brave Ukrainian people can continue to make sure the Ukrainian government can keep providing basic fundamental services to the Iranian people, like health care, education, and emergency personnel.
This is my first video update coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Thursday morning. Let's talk about some news. And Belensky, what did Biden say? And then he talked about Iran, helping out Iranians. Very interesting stuff coming out of Bidenapolis, Greece's favorite son. And then that kiss, that awkward kiss between Belensky and Pelosi. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. My eyes. My eyes. After seeing that kiss. Oh, yeah. And then come on, Biden. Come on. Belensky travels all the way to the United States, courtesy of U.S. Air Force One, which shows who actually runs the operation in Ukraine. The fact that the U.S. Air Force pulls this guy out of Kiev and flies him to D.C. for the day, that shows who's really in charge. But he flies all the way to the U.S. and you can't give the guy a tie, a jacket and tie. He's speaking to Congress. I mean, come on, man. He spoke to Congress in a sweatshirt. Okay, it's the theatrics of it. You know, you have to have the army green sweatshirt because it plays into the whole theater. That's Zelensky's costume. That is his costume that he's going to wear for his performance. And what a performance it was as he spoke in front of Congress. Pelosi called Zelensky the next Winston Churchill. Many people are comparing Belensky now to FDR. Actually, he quoted FDR towards the end of his speech, or he invoked FDR towards the end of his speech. What a performance! This is what Belensky was trained for. You know, he's a comedian actor. This is where he feels most at home, and it was a script. I mean, this was not Ukraine. The Ukraine government and Belensky, obviously, they did not write this speech. This speech was carefully crafted by the script writers in DC, in Hollywood, in London. Belensky was he was delivering his lines. So some of the interesting things that Belensky said, well, he said that the occupiers had an advantage in artillery and much more heavy equipment like tanks and airplanes. He said that the United States, he said, your support is crucial to get to the turning point on the battlefield. Belensky also said, we have artillery. It isn't enough. Not really. He also said, I would like to thank you for the financial packages. Your money is not charity, but an investment in global security that Ukraine will handle in the most responsible way. It's an investment. It's an investment, America, that the most corrupt country in Europe will handle in a responsible way. It's like loaning money to a crack addict. No, really, give me your money. I promise you, I'm gonna handle it in a very, very responsible way. You can trust me with your money. It's an investment, really. Let's see here. Zero Hedge says that among the more interesting statements was the moment Zelensky indirectly pressed for the U.S. to provide tanks and warplanes, while he stressed that Ukraine has never asked American troops to fight on Ukraine's behalf on its soil. Zelensky asserted, quote, "I can assure you that Ukrainian soldiers can perfectly operate American tanks and planes themselves." Yeah, we're going to send all the Patriot systems. Well, one Patriot system, but we're going to send tanks and airplanes and stuff like that. And I guarantee you, Zelensky's letting the American people know. I guarantee you that it's going to be Ukrainians flying these warplanes and operating these tanks. 100%, it's going to be Ukrainians. It's only about a day's training. That's all it's needed, you know. It's like a couple of days or two. You go to Poland or Germany. You get trained up for a couple of days, and before you know it, you're ready to to fly an F-16 or an F-35. That's all that's needed. It's a couple of days, and you're trained up. That's what Zelensky wants everybody to know, that when all these weapons get delivered, which they will, because this is a one-way street. You know, mission creep is running in full speed now. It's moving in full speed, and so I have no doubt that eventually you're going to get to all kinds of a very high-tech gear. And it's going to be Americans that are going to be operating this equipment. No doubt about it. Even Putin and Shoigu, they admitted yesterday that they're fighting NATO, that Russia's fighting NATO. I'll get to those quotes in a sec. Let's see. Zelensky also said he called on Congress. He called on Congress to join Ukraine in bringing every Russian criminal to justice. Let the terrorist state be held accountable, he said. He emphasized millions of Ukrainians will have no heating or water as they celebrate Christmas. Only victory, he stressed near the end of his speech. And then Zelensky quoted FDR, Roosevelt's famous Day of Infamy speech, quote, "The American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory," Zelensky said, and followed by pledging that Ukraine too will achieve absolute victory. So that was the end of his speech, because people may not know.
I'll show you if it is.
Great, thank you. So people may not know that Zelensky is a student of FDR. He studies FDR and he studies American history. It's one of Zelensky's hobbies. It's one of his passions, is to be a student of American history. That's why it's so easy for him to quote FDR. Oh, so embarrassing. This whole thing was so embarrassing. And then towards the end of his speech, they presented, Zelensky presented Congress with a flag that was signed by all of the soldiers in Bakhmut and all of the Ukrainian soldiers in Bakhmut. When Zelensky allegedly met with them the other day, their wish, all the soldiers on the front line in Bakhmut, their absolute wish before they go and fight the evil Russians was to, in the name of democracy and human rights, their wish was to get this flag signed by all the soldiers into the hands of Kamala Harris and Pelosi. And so they took out that flag signed by all of the Bakhmut soldiers, because that's they had to get this flag to Kamala Harris. Oh my God. What an embarrassment last night was. What an embarrassment. I wonder if people are actually believing this stuff, actually buying into this stuff. I really, really do wonder. But look, Zelensky, one of his main goals One of the main reasons that they plucked him up out of Kiev, drove him to Germany, and then shoved him on a plane in his pajamas to speak to Congress is because they wanted to seal the deal for the 1.7 trillion bill and spending package and the 45 billion to the military-industrial complex. They wanted to make sure that they seal that deal, and that's what they did. So they got that done. And now we understand one of the reasons why it was so important, why it remains so important for Bakhmut to not be taken by the Russians in the way that Mariupol was taken. It's because they wanted to present the narrative that the Ukraine military is still standing in Bakhmut. They wanted to get that flag signed and given to Kamala Harris. They wanted all of this stuff was part of the spectacle. You know, it was all part of the theatrics. We're still standing in Bakhmut. Russian artillery is outgunning us and all of these things, but you know, we're standing because of democracy, human rights, and Nancy Pelosi's prayers. You know, that was the theater of it all. So that's one of the reasons why you had Zelensky allegedly going to Bakhmut the other day, which I actually believe now after a lot of reports and people on the ground in Ukraine. I actually believe that Zelensky was nowhere near Bakhmut. He was actually in Kharkov. There's a lot of eyewitness testimony, a lot of people who know the area that are saying he's nowhere near Bakhmut. Where Zelensky is right now is in Kharkov. I know that building. There are people who are saying, you know, I know that building. That is not Bakhmut. Anyway, the whole reason that they put up this whole theatrical event, going to Bakhmut, bringing the flag over, sending Ukrainian soldiers wave after wave into Bakhmut, into what has been called the meat grinder by the Western mainstream media. It's been called the meat grinder. The reason they've been doing this for the past month is because they've been crafting this performance. This has been in the making for the past month or two, and so one of the main objectives was we can't let Bakhmut fall to the Russians like Mariupol fell, because we're building this narrative. Ukraine soldiers, their last stand in Bakhmut, they're standing tall to fight the Russian invaders. And here I am in front of Congress as Winston Churchill, as the next Winston Churchill, to tell America to give me more money and give me more weapons. Give me more money, give me more weapons. You notice Zelensky always does this. He likes to do this. Give me more money, give me more weapons. You can trust us with your investment. Give me $1 trillion. Trust me, it's going to be money well spent. You can trust me. He likes to do that. This is Zelensky's. He likes that. So yeah, now one of the reasons for Bakhmut, now we know one of the reasons for all of this, sending Ukraine military into Bakhmut to get annihilated, is just to prop up a narrative that shows you how I'm not even going to say the word, that shows you what these people are like. They have no problem sending thousands upon thousands of Ukraine soldiers to their certain death in order to just prop up a narrative, in order to lead to a speech to Congress. Now, of course, Bakhmut absolutely has strategic importance, incredible strategic importance, because when and if the Russian military does take Bakhmut, well, then all of Donbass is going to crumble like a domino. But one of the main reasons for the Biden White House to make sure that Bakhmut didn't fall was to get this spending bill through and to create the theatrics in order to give that final push for this spending bill to go through. 1.7 trillion and $45 billion to the military-industrial complex. Let me actually read you where this money is going to, this $45 billion, because the Hill actually has a pretty good breakdown. So let me find this article from the Hill. The final amount included in the year-end must-pass omnibus bill means Ukraine will get $8 billion more than the $37 billion President Biden asked Congress for last month. Broken down, the funds include $11.9 billion to replenish U.S. weapons stocks that have been dipped into often since February 24th, when Russia first attacked Ukraine and Washington poured in its own lethal equipment to bolster the besieged country. So $11.9 billion is going to the military-industrial complex right off the bat. So it's not going to Ukraine. That's $11.9 billion going straight to the MIC. A summary of the supplemental aid also noted that $9 billion will go to Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, which includes efforts to train, equip, and provide intelligence support to Ukraine's military. Another $6.98 billion will go towards U.S. European Command Mission and intelligence support, pay, equipment, and related activity. In addition, $300 million is meant for advanced nuclear reactors and advanced nuclear fuels to increase Ukrainian energy security and independence as Russia continues to hit its energy infrastructure with frequent missile barrages and drone strikes. And $126.3 million would help to prepare for and respond to potential nuclear and radiological incidents in Ukraine, notably given the frequent saber rattling from Russian President Vladimir Putin over his country's nuclear stocks. Another $2.47 billion would address humanitarian needs for the country. $13.37 billion would go to economic support for Kiev, money laundering, economic support for Kiev, and $2.4 billion would help resettle Ukrainian arrivals and refugees into the United States. So that's where the money is going. That's where this $45 billion is going. Very little is actually going to Ukraine to actually help the Ukrainian people. Very little, if anything, is going to actually help the Ukrainian people. Even the $13.37 billion in economic support for Kiev is going to be laundered, stolen, disappeared. Anyway, I just thought I would give everybody a breakdown as to where this money is going. So this conflict is not going to be ending anytime soon, according to the wishes of the Biden White House. Once again, they repeated the line, as long as it takes. That's what they keep on repeating, as long as it takes, and as long as it takes. That is the mantra now. That has become the mantra of the Biden White House. So that was Zelensky's trip to D.C. And now he's probably back in Ukraine. He was just there, if I understand things correctly, he's just there for the day, and now he's back in Ukraine. And so the war continues. Putin and Shoigu, they had this huge event, the defense ministry and the Russian military, this massive event with 15,000 personnel and military government officials. And in this meeting, Putin and Shoigu, they both said openly said that Russia is fighting NATO. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu pointed to the presence of NATO staff officers and other specialists on the front lines in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, on top of almost $100 billion worth of pledged weapons and supplies from the military bloc countries. Quote, Russia's armed forces are presently facing allied forces of the West, Shoigu said on Wednesday at a meeting of the top military commanders in Moscow. The U.S. and its allies supply the Kiev regime with weapons, train its soldiers, provide intelligence, dispatch advisors and mercenaries and wage an information and sanctions war against us. And Putin said pretty much the same thing, that Russia is indeed fighting NATO. He said that Moscow is well aware of the role that NATO is playing in the Ukraine conflict. Putin said on Tuesday he urged senior defense officials to carefully analyze the capabilities provided to Kiev by the US-led military bloc. Putin said that Russia is facing the military potential and capabilities of almost all major NATO countries in Ukraine, adding that this will not stop Moscow from achieving its objectives. He went on to say that all information about NATO forces and the means which are actively being used against us during the special military operation are well known, and that all of this should be carefully analyzed and used in order to increase the combat capabilities of Russia's armed forces and security agencies. Putin also said that the Russian forces have acquired a great deal of combat experience during the conflict. He called on senior defense officials to analyze and systemize it in a timely manner in order to share what has been learned with military personnel. Mission creep from the collective West and the Russians understanding that they are fighting NATO, that they are heading into a war with NATO, and Putin and Shoigu saying as much, openly saying that Russia is fighting NATO, and Putin saying that the Russian military is learning a lot from its combat experience with NATO, and to prepare the military for future escalation with NATO. That is what Putin is saying, to prepare the military for future escalation with NATO, because that is what is coming. There is no reverse gear, or as the Biden White House puts it, as long as it takes, for as long as it takes. That is the mantra coming from the Biden White House. They want to extend this war. They are absolutely invested in this war to the tune of $100 billion, and this war is making people a lot of money. It's making the military-industrial complex a lot of money, but the members of Congress, they stood up and gave standing ovations. How many? I don't even know. I lost count, but they were standing up and clapping because they secured themselves a very nice payday towards the end of the year. A very nice Christmas bonus is what they secured themselves with this 1.7 trillion spending package and the 45 billion to Ukraine. Well, that's icing on the cake, isn't it? That money's going to go to the military-industrial complex, and the military-industrial complex is going to funnel some of that money back to McConnell and to all of these guys. So, of course they're happy. Of course they were standing up and clapping. They got a nice Christmas bonus. Hillary Clinton, by the way, she said that Ukraine is also a really good investment. She spoke to CNN and she said that, she said, quote, "I also think no one is asking for a blank check. I believe that the Ukrainians have proven that they are a really good investment for the United States. They are not asking us to be there to fight their war. They're fighting it themselves. They're asking us and our allies for the means to not only defend themselves, but to actually win." When she says that, a statement like this, when she says that the Ukrainians are not asking us to fight for them, that means that the U.S. and NATO is going to fight for them. That is, when Hillary Clinton says that means that the U.S. and NATO is going to be there to fight. So that is that was the day's events in D.C. Medvedev, meanwhile, he was in China, and he was delivering a message to Xi on behalf of Vladimir Putin. Xi delivered a message to Putin, gave it to Medvedev to deliver it to Putin. That's a big event. Something big is going down. Something very, very big is being prepared. For President Xi to meet with Medvedev is not common. Usually Medvedev would go to China and he would meet with his counterpart, It's very rare to have the president meet with someone that's not the president. It doesn't usually happen. And he met by himself. I mean, he greeted him and he shook his hand, and they were, mano a mano. The two of them met together, and that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen unless something very, very important is being delivered. Keep in mind, Putin went to Belarus to speak with Lukashenko in person. He wanted to deliver a message to Lukashenko. So he flew to Belarus. They signed all kinds of deals, but he wanted to speak with Lukashenko face to face. And now you have Medvedev traveling to China to speak with Xi and to deliver a message face to face. Something very, very big. I don't know if you can see the helicopter up there. All right, so should we do a clown world? Let's do a clown world. I've had a lot of requests to respond to the news that Greece is going to be providing. It looks like they'll be providing the S-300s to Ukraine in exchange for, I think it's in exchange for Patriots. They're going to get the Patriot system, and so they're going to hand over their S-300 air defense systems to Ukraine. And Moscow is calling this, actually, Zakharova has called this an openly hostile act. She said that would be a gross violation of Russian-Greek agreements on military and technical operation, adding that both the 1995 and 2013 treaties signed by Moscow and Athens in this field explicitly forbid Greece to re-export the military equipment supplied by Russia without Moscow's consent. Trampling on its commitments under the treaties is bound to have consequences, the ministry spokeswoman warned. Such a move would also conflict with the position of most Greeks, she said, adding that 70% of Greeks oppose pumping Ukraine with arms, according to polls. She is right. There are polls, a lot of polls, that clearly show that the Greek public is absolutely against the Greek government pumping more weapons to Ukraine. And Zakharova is also right that sending the S-300s to Ukraine tramples on all of the agreements that they entered with Russia. So, yeah, Greece is absolutely breaking their agreements there. But what do agreements mean anymore between Russia and the collective West? Minsk 1, Minsk 2. We're not going to expand NATO further east, whatever. All agreements are meaningless now. They are absolutely meaningless. And so Greece is saying as much. They're saying our agreements with Russia mean nothing. That is going to have serious consequences in all kinds of areas, maybe even in tourism. Who knows? But yeah, the Greeks are not honoring the agreement that they made with the Russians. 2 agreements that they made with the Russians. They're going to be handing over, it looks like they're going to be handing over these S-300s to Ukraine. They're going to wait for the Patriot systems. No surprise. No surprise. I've said this on many videos that Greece at this point in time is 100% owned by the United States and by the EU. By the EU, but of course that means the United States. They're completely militarized from the north of the country all the way down to Crete. All of Greece has become just one big, massive American military base. It's just fact. It is just fact. There was a time when Greek foreign policy was 70% EU-US and then 30% rest of the world. It did try to keep a certain balance, but since the Mitsotakis government came into power, that balance has been completely obliterated, absolutely shattered. And so so Greece is all in with the U.S. and with the EU and with NATO. All in. It has burned all its bridges. There's no going back. If there is going to be any type of rapprochement with with Russia and with the rest of the world, really, it is going to take decades upon decades for it to happen. At this point in time, the Greek government is completely captured by the U.S. military-industrial complex, and of course, there's good money in that. No doubt about it. There's good money in that for the Greek politicians as well, and yeah, I think it's going to be, as Zakharova said, I think the blowback from this is going to be asymmetric, and it's going to be very bad for Greece, possibly even Cyprus. But it is what it is, and this has nothing to do with the Mitsotakis government, the other government of Syriza, any government on the left or in the center, whatever government would have done the same thing. There is no deviation between the parties and the political class in Greece either. So, yeah, that's the situation there. Let's do a clown world. And this clown world, since we've been talking about military stuff, this clown world is going to be a quick one, but you know, let's throw it out there. Marine Corps plans to get rid of yes, sir, over gender neutrality concerns. Okay, there you have it. There you have it. No more yes, sir. And the Marine Corps, it looks like that famous yes, sir, that we all know so well is going to be extinct. And there's another clown world related to this from the UK. Here we go. According to GB News, security risk at Whitehall as gender fluid staff are offered 2 ID passes in case they change identity. Quote, "This is insane." That's the title from this GB News article. The civil service has been scrutinized this week for offering gender fluid staff 2 ID cards to access buildings. HMRC posted an announcement to staff last week in which they informed them of the policy from the Trans Plus Staff Diversity Network. It informed them that members of staff who were gender fluid, non-binary, multigender, and or transgender could express their gender differently at different times, and that they would apply for the second pass or identity card in order for them to be able to bring their whole self to work. Both passes have different images on them, but linked to the same designated number that the member of staff uses. HMRC told the Mail Online, "This is not new policy. It is in place to help protect everyone's security and ensure all colleagues feel welcome in the workplace." I have no comment to both of those stories. I will end the video there, the Duran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin as well. And go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.